Good evening. We're going to call the July 1, 2024 meeting of Greenwood Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. Roll call, please, Simon.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Rutherford?
Here.
Mr. Colvin?
Here.
Minutes of our last meeting, June 17, are still up for approval and review for approval. So those will be for us at our next meeting. Mr. Petty, you are first on the agenda. Evening.
I'm just here tonight to request approval to sell 2 pickup trucks out of our sanitation utility to our Parks Department. The first one is a 2018 Ford F-250. You got BIN ending in B31776, and the amount on this one will be $14,200, with the second one being a 2020 Ford F-250. BIN ending C49774, and on that one, the amount will be $27,200.
Questions for Todd on either one of these matters? There's a motion. Could we do both at the same time?
I'll move for approval of both.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Next, Kathy Blankman, 7 Brew. Kathy, are you present online? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're right. So Kathy Blinkman is requesting a noise ordinance for 7 Brew. They are holding their grand opening August 3rd with a DJ from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Their opening itself will be 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. And on top of that, we have spoken to Grable. Grable is Jason Grable, and he is able to provide traffic control for that.
And when did you say that was again?
August 3rd.
On a residential area, any concerns or questions?
I move that we approve the request.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, Craig Sylvester. First Baptist Church of Greenwood. Gentlemen, don't discount the fact that Mr. Tapp is with us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Here to ask for acceptance of the improvements, acknowledgement, completion of improvements, and acceptance of the maintenance guarantees, and then the release of the performance guarantees.
Mark, are this an unconditional approval?
Yep, that's correct.
Questions for Craig? Or Mr. Tapp, just to give you some feeling for coming in?
Yeah, shouldn't we come up with something?
I would compliment them on a nice facility.
Thank you.
It's a nice
I walk by there a lot in the morning. I would move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next,
you, gentlemen.
you're welcome, Mr. Tapp. Kevin Sumner, We Engineers, Honey Creek Farms.
Good afternoon, Kevin Sumner, Law Engineers, 10505 North College Avenue. With me, I got Stu Huckleberry with Winnar Homes. This is for Honey Creek Farms. We got 2 stormwater drainage waivers that we'd like to request. One has to do with the percentage of the bottom of the detention basins. Instead of 50% at 10 feet deep, we're wanting to do 30% at 10 feet deep. Mark, would these go at the same time, or you can present it after this? And then the other one is for the 48-hour return. 90% of the detention capacity in the ponds to be returned. We've done a drainage analysis with 2 back-to-back rain events, 100-year back-to-back rain events, and those all would be required. We did provide to engineering department today. Paul was asking for some questions about the time frame on each one of the ponds as far as return time. Did you end up getting that one?
He did, yes.
Okay, all right. So we provided that to engineering. 3 of them are less than 48 hours, and then the other 4 are the ones that are a little bit longer. The longest one being 87 hours after, but all the other ones are around 56, 44, a couple of them 24, 56, something like that. So that's all I have.
Mark, your comments, thoughts?
Could you provide a little more information on that first waiver request and why you're unable to meet the contact?
Okay. So the ponds, the site is pretty hilly. We've got some areas that we're wanting to save some trees next to some creeks. And so by not allowing the pond to be even bigger, because really the bigger the pond gets, it doesn't help in this situation. So we're chasing grade in a lot of areas to get back down to this. So the deeper the pond goes, the bigger it gets, it doesn't help in this situation. It actually makes the other waiver that we're asking for even worse, because then the ponds get bigger and you can't return back in 48 hours. Thanks.
So on both of these waivers, on waiver number 1 with the depth of the pond, again, I think we've talked about this in the past. It's really to provide water quality. A more shallow pond, you're going to get grass and weeds and algae growing in it. The water will get pretty hot. It also helps promote aquatic life when you have a deeper pond. We're engineering staff is not opposed, generally supportive of this waiver. As Mr. Sumner kind of alluded to, they have a unique site with some unique topography. They're also going to be providing aeration in our ponds for our standards, which should help with pond turnover and water quality. On the second waiver, we see that one a lot. Again, the only way to meet that waiver in a lot of these cases is to increase the discharge out of the pond, which we'd rather have the water retain than discharge at a faster rate. I can also share that Y Engineers, you calculated 2 back-to-back 100-year storm events, and all the ponds had adequate capacity to handle that. So I think that really meets the intent of the standards. If there's 2 very large storm events back-to-back, it'll still hold it back. And that might be something we need to consider long-term changing our standard to as well too. So we don't have to continue to hear these waivers, but we're also generally supportive of this waiver request as well for this.
What type of aeration? Do you have active or is it just?
Typically we'll put bubblers in there and then also a fountain. It really comes down to the calculation of how much more ponds have as far as volume of data.
Other questions for Kevin? Or
And
Mark?
then you have emergency overflow, obviously, in case those do overtop.
Sounds like they recommended both waivers. Is there a motion to approve both waiver requests?
I move that we approve both waiver requests. Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And Mark, you've got the documents.
Yes, and another side.
Chief?
Good evening, Council. Chief Marshall, Fire Chief. Coming to you today, this was not able to be on the agenda in time. I have 2 different proposals here. One's an agreement with Franciscan Health. The other is ERS Wireless proposal for Station 92 for new station alerting equipment, the amount of $13,507.75. Station 92 is currently their equipment. The station alert equipment is quite old. It's new alerting equipment. So this was identified about a month ago. We did come up with funding, so I'd like to move forward with that. ERS. The other one is a personal property transfer agreement between Greenwood Fire Department and Franciscan Health. As you know, we already have a good partnership with Franciscan Health. They are in need of an ambulance. We have an ambulance. We don't use it. We pay insurance on it. We take maintenance, repairs, and it takes up space. So this was a great agreement for us. In return, Franciscan Health is going to give us $34,000 in tuition for EMS. So we made sure that it wasn't just for paramedic school. We currently have 3 in paramedic school now. So this is taking care of part of that. And then as we move forward with at least 21 new hires, several of them will need EMT courses. So this will help subsidize or offset costs for the department of the city. I see this as a win-win for both Franciscan Health and the city of Greenwood. So,
Well, let's take the ambulance transfer issue first. Any questions for the chief?
How many do we have in service?
ambulances, we contract currently with SEALS. There are 3 ambulances that are their ambulances. This ambulance, I believe, came from Rural Metro. This is a 2010 Chevy, and this is the only one that we have. We don't have any plans in using that for the ambulance.
Well, I'll move that we approve the personal property transfer agreement as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
And then let's look at the ERS matter. Questions for the chief on this?
We approve the request as presented.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience wish to address us? Anyone here in the room or online? Hearing none, we'll go on to Corporation Council's status of text.
First up is a Ridtop subdivision, section 1, condemnation of drainage easement. We're seeking approval from the board to condemn an easement across the parcel for the purpose of utilities. And secondly, to authorize us to hire the Ice Miller firm to complete the transaction.
Questions for Sam otherwise? Hearing now, I'll move that we approve that request.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up, I have a walk-on. Joe Saylor's contract expired yesterday, and we'd like to approve it for the next year. The price, I believe, is $500 a month higher. We think we're getting a great value from Mr. Saylor, and we'd like you to move forward with this.
I'll move for approval. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Mark?
Evening. First item before I forget is also a walk-on item that I provided you a memo on prior to the meeting. Johnson County Highway Department is today, they should have, I haven't been out there, but that's what they told me they would be closing the Fry Road Bridge west of State Route 135. That's one of 2 entrances into the Sable Ridge subdivision. It's the only signalized entrance to the Sable Ridge subdivision. Those folks will now only be using the unsignalized entrance at Sable Ridge Lane to the north. I am requesting that we create a temporary no parking zone within 200 feet of the intersection of State Route 135 along both sides of Sable Ridge Lane to promote efficient traffic operations and safety. That roadway is kind of narrow, and I don't want people parking right up to the stop sign and making it hard for cars to get around each other as they try to get in and out of that subdivision.
Talking to the north.
Yes. And then maybe a second temporary no parking zone at the intersection of Sable Ridge Drive and Sable Ridge Lane. Make it easy to remember roadways in that subdivision. The contractor, the bridge contractor is going to be bringing in some big equipment, primarily the crane they're going to need to build that bridge, as well as some deliveries. They want to put steel plates down so they get a wider turning radius on that intersection and to protect the curb and the curb inlets. And to put those in, we need to have no parking in that area as well too. So again, another temporary no parking zone within, I think I put a 60-foot radius of that intersection of those two roadways. Yeah, construction is expected to last, I think, through the end of the year on that bridge. I think Thanksgiving is when they think it'll be done, but you know how construction goes, it might be a little longer than that.
How are they marking the no parking zones? Have they put in
I have
those?
asked, yes, I've asked the contractor to do that themselves, to put up no parking.
This on the west side of 135.
Yes, towards the north end of the city.
So it's becoming T Street.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions for Mark? There's a motion on both of these no parking zone requests.
I move that we approve those requests.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item we have is our easement encroachment docket. We have several easement encroachments requested tonight. The first one, just to update you all on the Saratoga Drive, that's the retaining wall of the pool. The pool contractor and our building department were able to come to a solution where they no longer need to encroach into our easement. So that has been, I guess, could be removed. Maybe we just deny it. I'm not quite sure how that would be handled on the encroachment docket. Either way, the remaining items, there are one.
I just removed it.
So does that come back? Okay. The remaining items, there are 3 fence encroachments that engineering staff is generally unopposed to with our typical conditions. And then the last one we might want to talk about is at 331 Naples Court. They're proposing to put a gazebo and a deck within a drainage and utility easement. We have concerns about that one. I can share the memo with you if you don't have it all before you tonight. There are existing utilities in that easement, more than just our utilities. I think there's some overhead power, overhead or buried power, but there is some evidence of power and fiber utilities back there. It's a permanent encroachment in this easement, which we generally are not comfortable with. So engineering is recommending a denial on that.
Is there anyone here in the audience wishing to address the 331 Naples Court? Any folks? Why don't you give us your name and tell us what you
Beth and Brian Ely. And we have we moved in and there was an existing deck that we did not know was in the easement. And so we were looking to expand it. And there's a 15-foot easement and it would only go in, I think, up to 4 or 5 feet into the easement. So there still would be 10 or 11 feet of easement available for drainage. And so the gazebo can be moved out of the easement, but there would only be 1 4x4 in the encroaching into the easement on that gazebo part. But
Yeah, that doesn't have to be in that location.
we could move it but it's, since our property is bigger closer to the fence.
As you can see, our backyard is not as big behind our house, it is on the sides of our house, and our deck is behind our house. So we'd like to just put it a couple more feet out into the easement, which is again 15 feet. So we're just asking for a couple more feet into the easement.
And we would, if a utility did need to come in, we would be okay with, taking it down or whatever they would need to, anything they needed to do. But we have had letters sent to us saying that they didn't have anything in the
We set up-
easement or of the 15 letters. Some utilities did get back with us saying it wasn't a problem.
Mark, you said which one were you concerned about? What you
I believe I was told that there is a power buried in the back rear yard utility through there. I think there might also be fiber in the rear yard.
Those are actually near the fence line. They are not in our backyard. They are actually at the fence line, those, because that's where all the openings for the openings in the ground where the utilities go to fix it. They're just right by the fence line, which again, 15 feet on our side, 7 feet on the other side. So there's more than enough feet on both sides of that fence.
Did you get any kind of letter from the power company back?
Got, not from IPL. I
No.
don't think it's IPL in that area.
Oh, no, it's due. Is it due?
Yes.
We did, yeah.
I think we got one from EP and one from another one saying that there was nothing, but we didn't get anything from them and they have 2 weeks to respond to us or,
And we were told that they didn't respond. It was not on us.
yeah, or if they had an issue that they would come to the meeting.
So trying to get a bearing on some of these photos we can. Where do you, so you want to put your gazebo on the opposite side where you've got a little basketball court there, right?
Yeah, not on the basketball court, yeah, on the
On the
right
other
side
side
of
of
the
it.
picture, yeah. And only one post would be encroaching. The rest of it would be further in than 15 feet from the fence line.
Well, you're definitely one of the.
Yes.
Behind.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
And we really don't want to put anything outside, like a deck on the outside, because that would, our neighbors would see that and they would, we don't want to do anything to the neighborhood or have to, people seeing us on our deck on the side of our house.
You understand that if we do allow encroachment of anything, something happens out there,
It's our responsibility.
yeah, and we got the city or the utility company has to remove it. They may not be doing it very nicely or quickly, and
As long as they let us know in advance, I can definitely take care of the problem. But I mean, if they don't come back and shovel it up.
Yeah, we're okay with doing any of that. If any utilities need to get back there. And we wanted to make sure there is enough room for, if they even need to bring machinery or that kind of stuff back there.
So Mark, the concern is utilities more than the drainage.
Have you had them located yet? Did you call for?
We did,
Yeah, I think we've had them located before back there, and I don't think there's really anything
yeah.
other than at the fence line.
yeah, they said they said the only thing back there was cable. And they didn't say there was any power back there.
Metronet
But
just came back there.
Metronet, so I don't know. It could be power, but they never put any flags for power. They put the water on the sides, they put the gas on the sides, and then they had cable going across the fence.
Yes, so the power for the gas and the electric are on the basketball spot, like along the garage, from the road to the garage to the house, and they don't go as far as we know in the backyard at all. We've never had any flags back there,
Not back there.
except for maybe at the fence line, but
Like utilities, like the
the
cable.
Metronet, yeah.
And you understand, I'm not sure if you've seen this memo, but if the board does grant your encroachment request, that it would be necessary to be constructive of gazebo and remaining part of your deck. That it be constructed so as to allow for adequate drainage.
Okay, yes.
And if there's a drainage issue that arises, then you be responsible to correct that issue. Talked about any work in the easement, removal and replacement will be at your expense and liability. And then if it is granted, that you notify 111 prior to installing the encroachment. So if there is a positive motion, those would be the conditions. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve the request as presented with those conditions.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Good luck to you. You understand we're going against our our own advice, so.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
The remainder of the docket.
Yeah, there's three remaining encroachment requests on the docket. Is
Yes.
there a motion for approval of those?
So moved.
I'll second that. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, Mark.
Next item I have is we're asking for a letter of support from this board. CDS staff is applying for a grant from the federal government for the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, or ATIP. That's a funding mechanism that was created under the bipartisan infrastructure law. We're looking to use the funds to do a study on US 31 and pedestrian crossings. So where can pedestrian crossings go? How can they be prioritized? How much will they cost? What kind of hurdles are there? Then the goal would be ultimately to use that study to build pedestrian crossings. So there's a real lack of that here in Greenwood along 31. So I have a letter of support. I'd be happy to pass it down, and if you are so inclined, I would ask that you sign it, show your support for the application.
Is the letter you requested? Is it?
Yes, it is from us. Well, it's from you as the board, but we wrote it.
Is there a motion to request?
So moved.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Do you know about how much money we would get?
We're gonna apply for $200,000 in funding. It's an 80-20 match, so we would be putting up $40,000.
Do we have that much?
Yes, we have talked to the controller about that.
Then are we competing, is that the regional transportation money that we're competing for?
It was actually directly through, I think this was directly through USDOT, so it's a competition at the national level. The next item I have is from our 2024 annual paving project. It's a consideration of change order number 1. We actually made this request from our contractor, Howard Companies, along Royal St. George Drive. I'm trying to remember the name of that subdivision, over south of Valley Vista. There's a location on one of those roadways where water sits after it rains, and there's not adequate drainage there. So we asked for put together a plan and a change order on how we can address that. So it's to add 2 curb inlets and a little bit of pipe to connect back to an existing storm sewer to help improve drainage in that area. The change order dollar amount is $56,580. They also asked for a 3-day extension of time with this change order. It would bring the total amount for this project to $102,178.80. And that's well within what we had originally planned for this contract. Howard Companies came in as a very low favorable bid on that project.
So they put an extra inlet in, is that what you?
2 extra inlets, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any additional questions for Mark?
I move for approval.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The next item I have for you is another change order. Back in earlier this spring, Mr. John Shell was here for Fire Station 93. You approved, authorized a bid to bore a new water line underneath Cutzinger Road to add city water, Indiana American Water to Fire Station 93. We've gotten into that work. This will allow for the contractor to complete this work. The isolation valve for the well was not where we thought it would be, further north. Basically, where it's at now, we could shut off the well water, tie in the new city water, and then the fire station would be without water for a period of time while the water line is tested by Indiana American Water for pressure and sanitation. So this will allow us to perpetuate water from the well while the new water line is tied in and approved by the water company. It also adds a little yard hydrant onto the end of that line so that the well can continue to be used in the future by the fire station for cleaning trucks or maybe watering the lawn or something like that as well too. The amount on that is $77,950. I believe the total original contract for this was $51,000.
I'll move we approve change order number 1. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I was gonna say, I'd authorize the mayor, deputy mayor to sign the board's gas.
Automatic.
Yes.
Okay, Barry Chase.
Barry Chase, we're asking that you authorize the mayor, deputy mayor to sign the board's behalf the sanitary sewer service special agreement for the Barry Chase section 1 project, which occurs outside of Greenwood city limits.
So moved.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That is all I have for you tonight.
Well, thank you. Greg doesn't appear to be here. Approval of claims.
I moved
Hey,
to,
hey, President Biden.
I moved to accept the claims as presented, approve the claim as presented. You're right, you got me flustered.
Sorry.
Man, I've been insulted before. That's a blow.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Chief, did we forget something, or you just want to hang around and just watch us?
No, I was actually very interested in 93.
So how, I had a question, part of what my brain was. How long does it take to change that over from?
So the work itself should only be about a day of work. But once it's connected to the new water main, the line has to be pressurized, it has to pass pressure test by the water company. And what takes the longest is they have to make sure it's chlorination test, they have to make sure there's not bacteria in the water line. And that takes up to sometimes 7 or more days for those samples to come back clean.
Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, we'll stand adjourned at 6:02 p.m. Thank you all.
The 93 Wednesday.